WTIM. And welcome into WTIM, your information station. It's time now for the WTIM Morning Show. I'm your host, Tim Zalabak. Thanks so much to the live stream sponsors, People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark. On the phone line, we have Illinois State Senator Steve McClure of the 54th District. How are you today, Senator McClure?
I'm well, Tim.
Thank you so much for taking the time being here with us. We're going to cover a couple different topics today, but we're going to get started with some legislation passed by the Senate, now heading to Governor J.B. Pritzker's desk, talking about a change in verbiage in some of the ways we classify criminals in the state of Illinois. Break this one down for us here, and what are we talking about here?
So for certain people that are having their sentence dealt with in a certain manner, there is a bill that will change the word offender, as in criminal offender, to justice impacted individual. And this is kind of what's been happening in our state, if people have been paying attention over the last few years, is this push to not blame a criminal for crimes and sort of blame society at large. And it's kind of outrageous, to say the least. And once this bill passed, it actually made news all over the world. And in Australia, on Sky News, they opened up their segment discussing this piece of legislation by saying, if you think things are bad in Australia, what do you see what they're doing in the United States? And, we're at the point now where the governor, who has been wanting to release everyone that he can from prison, he wants to eliminate things from being crimes anymore. He wants to, he has commuted the sentences of quite a few really bad criminals, and he has just been on this this horrible streak of just attempting to apologize for the criminal, and it's all at the detriment to the victims across our state, and it's at the detriment of public safety. And if you look at just this past weekend alone in Chicago, 71 people shot, 9 killed. And again, where's the governor's focus? The governor's focus is on trying to make sure that those poor old criminals don't get called criminals. He wants them to be called justice impacted people. And the reason I say that is this was not a big push from Governor Pritzker to do this, but I have every bit of confidence that he will sign this into law. And it's just outrageous.
Wow. Okay. So moving from criminal offender to justice impacted individual, you said there's been this push to kind of blame things on society as a whole, but it really seems like a justice impacted individual. It's putting all of the blame on the justice system that convicted them in the first place. It's just an interesting way to go about it. And do you think there'll be societal changes in the way we perceive criminals? Is that kind of the goal for Governor Pritzker?
His goal is to be president, but outside of that, he just has some people that are really far left who advise him on criminal matters. And this stuff is really insane. And, I think it's also interesting to point out that the governor and President Trump have been trading shots back and forth over the last few days. And Governor Pritzker keeps referring to President Trump as a convicted felon. Again, the only person he's willing to refer to as a political enemy. He's not willing to refer to murderers like that. It's pretty incredible. I mean, if you look at it from a political perspective, that seems to be the only thing motivating Governor Pritzker is politics, because his really far left supporters don't want people to go to prison, don't want people to be referred to as convicts, etc. And so he's not willing to refer to murderers like that, but he is willing to refer to President Trump like that. It's insane. I mean, this guy is really, really been bad for our state, particularly on criminal law matters, and it shows.
So in this legislation, even murder is the most violent of crimes. You would be determined as a justice impacted individual.
Well, it doesn't go that far. You have to be eligible for a certain list of crimes. I shouldn't say list of crimes. You can be a felon, but you have to be eligible for probation in your sentence. So murder is not eligible for probation, but a whole host of violent crimes are, and a whole host of really bad crimes are, and all of those, if the offender goes into a particular sentencing, then they're referred to in statute as a justice impacted individual instead of a criminal offender. And I asked the question during the debate. I said, okay, so are victims going to be called criminal impacted individuals? And of course they said, no, we don't change the victim language at all. And I said, of course, because you guys always leave the victims out. And that's been the trend in our state now for all 5 years of, or 5.5 years of Governor Pritzker's time in office, which is really, really pathetic. And I just don't get it. I really just don't get it. And it's really sad. And it's time to start to recognize, Governor Pritzker needs to recognize that we have a very severe crime problem in the state. And if you look at all the policies he's enacted, where he promised that they were going to cause offenders to be all of a sudden wonderful people just doing nothing but good. In fact, his policy said caused the opposite to happen. And just in Chicago alone, crime is up 38% year to date from Governor Pritzker took office in 2019. So it's outrageous.
So this legislation was passed by the Senate to change this wording, criminal offender to justice impacted individual. You said that you have a strong feeling that the governor will sign this, and then you mentioned that you think he might have a potential bid for president. Do you think that Governor Pritzker believes that this type of mindset can be extended nationwide? Is this kind of a movement that other states are making?
No, other states are not making this move,
Okay.
and anybody running for president has to first think about the Democratic primary. And there are very far left activists who are very much in favor of not having jails anymore, not having prisons anymore. And he's certainly been someone that has catered to that crowd. I mean, his concern is not just running for president, it's getting through a Democrat primary. And if you've got someone like Governor Pritzker, who is a man who has inherited all of his money and, on lots of the biggest Democrat groups, they don't want someone that has that sort of a background involved in Democratic politics. So how does he try to overcome that? He tries to be as far left as he can on issues, and certainly this is one of the highlights on his resume for Democrat primaries, the fact that he's so easy on criminals and so apologetic for criminals to the detriment of victims. And so that's kind of, again, if you want to get through a Democratic primary, you got to go as far left as you can, and that's exactly what he's doing.
So I'm thinking about the start of things with aspects like the Safety Act and the word changes like justice impacted individual. And then you say things like the finish line for this could be not having jails and prisons altogether. How can that work in society?
It doesn't work. But if you look at what's happened in the Department of Corrections, and I get reports out of Christian County, I get reports out of all 10 counties that I represent, DOC, the Department of Corrections, has been releasing people using discretionary powers to do that. And we've had, in fact, John McWard, the Christian County State's attorney, called me within the last couple of weeks about another situation where somebody was sentenced to 9 years and for a very bad offense, and all of a sudden the Department of Corrections has decided that they have given this person discretionary time, and they served for, I believe, a year or less on a 9-year sentence.
Yep.
I mean, these are the policies the governor's enacting, and people look around wondering why crimes are happening.
Yeah. And you bring up a very local story right there that I can remember very well. And that person was rearrested for the exact same crime that they were supposed to be in for 9 years for. So you almost get to see it develop right in front of your eyes. Senator McClure, we're about to take our first time out here, but any final words to wrap up this conversation?
Well, there was a hearing where I had the chance to cross-examine the Department of Corrections appointment for the head of DOC. This is the woman who's been in charge of this for a year. Okay. And I pointed these cases out, and instead of having a good response to these things, it's just sort of like, well, we'll get back to you, and then nothing ever happens, and the governor did not allow for this person to vote on the Senate floor for a full vote because of the fact that Republicans are outraged at how she's been handling her position, and so it's time to change these policies to to policies that protect the public instead of putting the public in danger.
Learning a whole lot here with Illinois State Senator Steve McClure, representing the 54th Senate District. Thanks so much to him for taking the time today. We will be right back with Senator McClure on the WTIM Morning Show. After this quick break, you're listening to WTIM, your information station.
Your information station, WTIM.
Does your bank offer rewards on qualified signature-based debit card purchases? If not, then we need to talk. Hi, my name is Mason Crow with People's Bank and Trust. Join the growing number of our customers who are earning cash back on all qualifying debit card purchases. You already use your debit card. Now make it work for you with Save by Spending rewards from People's Bank and Trust. Call 888-PBT 1954 and find out more about our Save by Spending rewards program. People's Bank and Trust, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Chip Flory here, inviting you to join the conversation as we tackle the current issues of agriculture every weekday morning at 10:06 on the Talk of Central Illinois. You talk WTIM. I host Standard Talk, the nation's longest-running interview show dedicated to discussing agriculture issues with the newsmakers and include you in conversation via our toll-free number. We're here weekdays mornings at 10:06. We are AgriTalk.
The Shelby County Economic Development Corporation aims to foster, promote, and stimulate economic development, from keeping existing industry and retail businesses successful and thriving to attracting new investment in Shelby County. The Shelby County Economic Development Corporation is here to help your business grow. It also sponsors job fairs to fill positions at existing employers and encourages future entrepreneurs in the Shelby County CEO program. Find out more on the Shelby County Economic Development Corporation by clicking their icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
If you can't afford a new driveway, whether it's concrete or asphalt, it's possible it could be repaired. Jim Stepp, owner of Central Illinois Asphalt in Taylorville, has innovative new products that can save you money. And if you're looking for something better than a rock driveway or parking lot, find out what Jim can offer. Let Jim use his over 40 years of experience to provide you free consulting. So what do you have to lose? Click the Central Illinois Asphalt icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com to get Jim's contact number and save yourself some money.
Southern Ledge Pools and Patios in Taylorville is offering a fantastic June special. Get 10% off all float syrups and spices. Swing by the store and check out the new patio furniture. A great opportunity to spruce up your outdoor space and entertain your guests. Don't have a summer hangout? It's not too late. Reach out for a free estimate on an in-ground pool. Shop in-store and online. Southern Ledge Pools and Patios, 306 East Main Cross in Taylorville. Your outdoor fun creator.
Computer Techniques, also known as CTI, is bringing fiber internet to local homes and businesses. For live free internet with speeds up to 1 gig more by clicking their icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Cousin Bill here from Illinois Paving. Hey, Christian County and surrounding area. Let us do your paving job, whether large or small, this year. Find out how we can do your paving project by clicking on the icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Your information station, WTIM.
And welcome back to WTIM, your information station. I'm your host, Tim Zalabak, and we're in our second half of the morning show with Illinois State Senator Steve McClure of the 54th District. Thanks so much to our live stream sponsors, People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark with Senator McClure. In that first half, we talked about some wording changes in Illinois legislation, moving from criminal offender to justice impacted individual. We've talked a lot about that. Switch gears a little bit. Talk about the budget that was recently signed in officially by Governor J.B. Pritzker, a $53 billion budget, if I'm remembering correctly. And we're going to get this conversation started talking just a little bit about pay raises inside governmental bodies there. What are these pay raises and changes? What are they, Senator McClure?
Well, as part of the biggest budget in the history of our state, there were increases in legislator pay.
Okay.
And that's been a trend that's happened now for a long time. There's a couple of years where that was taken out, but for the most part, this has just been a trend. And it's also there are $1 billion in new taxes for the citizens of the state of Illinois. So you've got the need for all this new revenue, and when there's really not a need for all of these tax increases. In fact, there's not a need for any of them. And but to add insult to injury, you're gonna raise lawmakers' salaries, and on top of that, there's almost $1 billion in benefits and spending on new programs, and huge chunks of money that go to non-citizens. So they're saying, "Oh my goodness, we just can't afford our current bloated budget, so we got to expand our budget even more, and have our citizens foot the bill for it." So it's people are very upset about this, and I don't blame them one bit. And we certainly gave big speeches against the budget and pointed these things out. And I voted against it, of course, but it passed, and it's pretty outrageous.
So there could be some space in this budget for a pay raise for legislators out there, had there not have been huge chunks in it for migrant spending and aspects like that.
Yes, but I mean, there shouldn't be any pay raises for lawmakers. Anybody that has looked at the state of Illinois over the last few years and seen people leaving, crime skyrocketing, and just businesses leaving. Anybody that has observed what's been happening in the state of Illinois should say, okay, none of these lawmakers deserve pay raises. But unfortunately, it is what it is. And, it's ridiculous. It shouldn't happen. But huge tax increases to pay for lawmaker pay raises and spending on non-citizens when we've got a lot of homeless veterans that aren't getting taken care of. We got a lot of people with mental health illnesses that are American citizens in our state that are not being taken care of. And the line from the governor is, "Oh, we don't have money for those things."
Yeah, absolutely.
And yet you can all of a sudden throw out $1 billion in new taxes to pay for people that are citizens of other countries. It's really backwards. It's really backwards, and it's very upsetting to a lot of people. And I'm upset. It's crazy.
I misheard you just a little bit on that first half, so I do apologize. You were saying that you do oppose many things in the budget, and while opposing this pay increase, just because of all of those reasons you stated right there. I heard of one congressman or one legislator out there that was planning on taking the pay increase and donating it to some sort of nonprofit. Do you have any ideas there? Have you had any of those conversations?
Well, we always have these conversations every year, and as we always say, we don't determine how much money. I mean, I don't determine how much money that we're given in the budget, and so of course I vote against it. I don't take a pension. Believe it or not, lawmakers get a chunk of money every day they come into the Capitol. It's called a per diem, and every day that we're in session, there's a check written to lawmakers. I don't take that because, and a lot of lawmakers, unfortunately, that live in the area do take it.
Wow.
Despite the fact that it's supposed to be used for hotels or for food while you're at town. Well, I live in Springfield, so I've got no reason to take that. So I don't take a pension. I don't take a per diem, and I don't get reimbursed for mileage to and from the Capitol. A lot of people reimburse themselves for mileage as well. So there's a lot of things that, where I can control it, I don't accept it. But as far as the salaries are concerned, I don't have control over what the salaries are, and I voted against every pay raise.
Wow. And as a taxpayer, I appreciate those little things you do, and not accepting those types of per diems right there. It's very interesting to learn that insight. I had no idea about that. Senator McClure, we're in our last minute here, and totally switching gears on a bit of a totally different note here. We got some very, very sad news that Willie Mays passed away last night. But you've actually had some experiences with this legend. Talk to me about that.
Sure. When I was in college, I went to Arizona State University, and I used to go to spring train practices and games all the time, particularly with the San Francisco Giants, because I wanted to go see Barry Bonds hit his home runs in batting practice. Yeah. And one of the people that was there all the time was Willie Mays. So I used to see Willie Mays all the time. And he was a real character. He had a very good wit. No matter what you said to him, he would spit something back at you that was really funny or off the walls or whatever. And the interesting thing about him, though, is he had a real problem seeing. And that would have been, I was at Arizona State in the early 2000s, and he had the problem at that time, and he had to write with the big thick marker so he could see it well and everything. But he was always in a great mood. He was always happy to be around spring training. He just seemed to love baseball and love watching it, and he loved the fans, and he just loved being around people. And so I was sorry to hear that he passed away, and
Yeah.
he was quite the character.
Yeah, well, so amazing to hear that little insight from you, and really cool that you were able to actually spend some time with him. Senator McClure, we're out of time, but I thank you for a great morning this morning.
Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Illinois State Senator Steve McClure, rep of the 54th Senate District. I'm Tim Zalabak, your host of the WTIM Morning Show.
The Big 870 WTIM Assumption Taylorville, 96.1 W241 CF Taylorville, 107.5 W298 CD Shelbyville, 107.9 W300 EH Payne and Nokomis.
Not only not allowable right now with road closures, but it's discouraged even where roads are open.
Audio courtesy of